the smoke-filled clouds of the 303, all the way down to the 505. This is the Dro Bro Show with Remo Vinci, Grimx, and Soul Doja. Yeah, the Dro Bro Show. This is Mr. Vicious Remo Vinci, and you are here for episode 4 of the Dro Bro Show. And I'm here with my brothers, my Dro Bros, Soul Doja and Grimx. Say what's up, fellas.
What's up, everyone?
Morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing
we're
great.
doing
Go ahead,
we're
Doja.
doing we're doing a morning show this time.
Yes, good morning to all of y'all. It's early morning. We all had some traveling conflicts and different things that are getting our show out a little bit later to you this week. But nonetheless, we're still here and we're still smoking. Well, kind of. Anyway, we have a couple different reviews for y'all today. We're going to cover a couple different movies that we've seen recently that kind of intertwine with each other, believe it or not. You can find a common thread there when you're ready to. But Grim, you want to get him a little head start and tell him what we're in for today?
Well, first I'd like to get into you mentioned the travel, Rich, Remo, and I'd like to say Remo's on location right now, and I think so is Soul Doja, aren't you? Both of you guys
Yeah.
have traveled, so they're both at different locations than they normally would be.
We're
Yes, sir.
it's spring break, so we gotta get our breaks in when we can, when kids don't have school.
My kids actually had school and we had to take them out a couple of days because this was a little family trip that we had planned since Christmas. And if y'all can see this beautiful backdrop behind me, we're in Durango, Colorado, and it is a beautiful day today. Even though it's a little bit cloudy and a little bit gloomy, still going to be a wonderful day today. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Where you?
and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, for everybody if you want to know. But I'm just in the city. There's no pretty backgrounds, just bums and stuff.
And I imagine we probably have a little bit of contrast of weather here. It's a little bit chilly over here, and I don't think anybody in Phoenix knows what chilly is.
No, me and my brother just woke up because it was hot. We're sweating and dying, and yeah, it's hot over here, man.
That's funny. And you see me hooded up with the champs, world champ. I here got to represent. You already know. We about to do it again too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard they're doing pretty good this season.
Oh man, they're killing it. And it's funny too because since the All-Star break, they've been on a crazy, crazy run. They've been smashing everybody. And I took my daughter actually for a little daddy-daughter date to one of her games, one of the games for her birthday. And that was the first game they lost, of course. But it was still awesome. We had a great time.
Look,
Go Nuggets.
This is my most recent hoodie I bought.
Hell yeah. See, we both. Where you at, Grim? You better grab that nugget shit.
Now I'd have to go in the room and stuff, put something on. But
No, that's dope.
actually got this dope ass Breeze Carolina Nuggets jersey. I don't know if you guys know who Breeze Carolina is, and so funny thing is Lisa's cousin was part of Breeze Carolina, and I actually worked with the guy whose brother started it.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I like that.
Yeah, they're a famous band that came out of Denver, so it's cool that I have that Nuggets jersey. Also got a Murray one.
Hell yeah, Murray's a beast, and so is Gordon. That's my daughter's favorite. So we've been smashing on Gordon lately, and everybody loves Jokic because that dude's just incredible. He does some of the most amazing shit I've ever seen anybody do on the basketball court. So, and Jokic looking, what is it going to be, his third MVP, something like that, if he gets it, which he should. It should have been his fourth. They fucked him out of it the other couple years ago or last year, whatever it was. But this should be number 3 for him, hopefully.
Last year I was working at Ball Arena part time and came into work one night and I saw Jokic taking free throws.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we got there a little bit early when we saw the game, and like I said, her favorite player is Aaron Gordon, and he was the only one out there warming up. He was working on some free throws and some layups, I think, or something like that. I can't remember what exactly he was doing, but it was cool for her only, her main guy to be the only one out there. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's really awesome. But
Speaking of, since you brought it up just a second ago, can we just for a second touch on the names of these venues and arenas? Because Ball Arena will forever be the Pepsi Center to me. I don't care what
What?
anybody says.
What's it called now?
Ball
Ball,
Arena,
right? Isn't that ridiculous?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like the Broncos Stadium will always be Mile High Stadium to me. I don't care what kind of branding they put on it. That's always going to be Mile High Stadium. Well, the new Mile High Stadium because the old one was where it was at.
They need to let the dispensaries own it.
You know what? I bet you we're not too far from that actually becoming a reality. That's going to be some
Right.
funny shit. It does happen. Anyway, speaking of dispensaries, we're about 5.5 minutes in already of our show. Y'all, Joe Bros, want to let them know what y'all are puffing on today?
I'm puffing on some white runts and some divine storm.
Oh, double whammy. I like it.
Yeah. And orange soda vape.
Very
Triple
flavor.
whammy. Triple
Triple
whammy.
whammy. What you got, Grim?
flower wise, I got Sumo Grande, and then on my cart, I think it's still this. It's a pink lemonade thing, pink
Mm.
lemonade haze or something like that.
And did you say Sumo Grande? That sounds freaking
Yeah,
awesome. I want to try that shit.
Right. I was like, interesting.
it's a sativa. So yeah,
Hell yeah. I love all the names of all these strains, man. It's pretty cool. The more time that goes by, the more creative the names get, I like that.
Right.
you know,
They have some funny names. I'll be like, I smoked this stuff called jalapeno jelly. One of the best tasting weeds I ever had, though.
It sounds like it'll put you on your ass. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna let the dog in real quick.
Who let the dogs out? Ooh, ooh, ooh.
but while we're talking about the herbage, when I was a kid, it was all about smoking, but as an adult now, it's more on a medicinal level in the US, I should say. I can't really say worldwide, but in the US it's more on a medicinal level. At that point I feel like instead of doing it just for the sake of doing it, I'm looking more for taste, smells, feels, all of that stuff. Like, how does it affect me? How does it affect pain management? All of that stuff, you know what I mean? How does it affect the way I
Yeah,
feel people?
yeah, I totally agree. Like, I was looking into getting my med card, and they said, well, the easiest thing to do is PTSD, and I'm like, but I use it for my hunger, my sleep, my anxiety, I'm like, there's so many things I use it for besides, just to smoke and get high. It's more like it's strictly like a medicine. It keeps me balanced throughout the day, dealing with all these punk teenagers at my job so I don't slap the shit out of them. I'm kind of mellowed out. I got more patience with my kids. I don't have to throw them through walls. So all right, daddy's
He's
cool.
joking, everybody.
Chill.
Those are only jokes. Don't take it seriously.
Oh yeah, just for the record, 90% of what I say is probably a joke. Not, I wouldn't say that high, but I joke a lot.
All of us, like I'm sure you guys can tell already, but we're longtime friends, all of us. So we've been joking around and fucking with each other since the very beginning. So you're gonna see a lot of that camaraderie throughout the show. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. We're already almost 10 minutes in. We haven't even talked about our movies yet. Let's
Yeah. Ricky Stanicky. We mentioned it in the last podcast. Has got John Cena in it, Zac Efron. There's another famous comedian in it, and really good movie. I was very surprised. Let's just say. I mean, I know John Cena's done some other stuff with like Peacemaker, and he's been a little more vulgar in his roles. But Remo and I know for sure. I can't really speak for for Soldoja, but I mean, John Cena, as far as wrestling goes, that's how I really remember him. You know, like this, he's a kid friendly, the like all American Boy Scout, basically.
Yeah, he was always the number one baby face of the promotion, for a long time, and they never turned him heel, which was kind of a topic of contentment for a lot of us, whether so-called smart marks or mark wrestling fans. You know what I mean? So we were kind of hoping for something like that because when he started his rise in the WWE, he started off as kind of a heel with his Doctor of Thugonomics character, and I think that we were all kind of hoping for a return to that at some point, but it never happened. So it's cool that now that he's doing his Hollywood career, that he's taking more of these roles that test his limitations and show us other sides of him, because he's a funny, funny dude, man. John Cena's got great comedic timing. And in this movie, man, it's extremely raunchy. It's a rated R comedy, which you don't really see a whole lot of these days. And for that to come back was pretty cool, and to see him flex his creative and comedic muscles, so to speak, was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this one just, he seems like he's just getting better and better the more movies that he does, and it's just so like, like this movie, like they did some skits in there that I was like not expecting at all, and it just had me dying. I was just laughing so hard. It was just that like the first like 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna finish this one because this is gonna be funny. This is the type of comedy I like, raunchy stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think it was right up all of our alleys there.
Yeah,
Right.
very funny. I like the part where they pick him up at the airport. You know what I mean? And he's standing over there, and they're like, "Come on, really?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And they're like saying that you're drunk already, and he's all, "No, I'm sober, however many hours." And they're like, "Look at you," and he's like, "Not what you think." He's all, "It's just piss," and they're just like,
Uh,
Uh,
And
I,
that's the beauty of Cena and all these roles, is that dude fully commits, man. He fully commits to the character, and he's not afraid to show his ass or any of that kind of shit. Figuratively, I mean, I'm not talking about the Oscar shit, people, but yeah, it's so funny how he does that. And I don't know about you guys, but I heard him on a podcast before before I actually watched the movie, right, on the Chris Van Vliet show, and he was talking about the jizz jams. And man, those fucking jizz jams that he was doing, those cover songs that are all about masturbation and all that shit,
oh, mm,
was
yeah.
so fucking funny, bro. I can't even get some of those things. Like every time I hear some of those songs now, that's all I hear is his jizz jam version of it.
"So let's
I,
get to the story." Okay, so for those of you that don't know, spoiler alert, Ricky Stanicky, I can't even remember what his real name was, but he was
It was
uh
Rob something.
yeah, it's Rob's. Oh, man, almost had it, but he's a
I'm
singer
looking
in
for it right here.
Atlantic City, and he does masturbation theme songs. And these guys are out having a party. They said they're out with Ricky Stanicky. So these group of friends, they have a made up friend, and anytime they need a scapegoat, they basically say, "Well, Ricky Stanicky, he invited us out. He came, or he's got something going on, so we all got to fly out and go do this." And that's how they go out and have guy time. And they meet this guy while they're out. He doesn't take the hint. He can't like leave the group and stuff. So eventually they fall into a situation where their families, I think it's the wedding, isn't it? And their families want to meet Ricky Stanicky.
It's the
And
baby shower
oh,
or the
yeah.
christening or
It's,
whatever.
it, yeah. Remember what? Dang, that part was funny too.
so they
His character name was Rod Rhymstead. I just looked it up.
so they basically call him back up, the John Cena character, and they hire him to be Ricky Stanicky for them, and they give him what's called the Bible, which is a big part of the story. That it's everything about Ricky Stanicky and everything that they've used him for in all of their scapegoats. That way, all of their stories match up, and he definitely took that Bible pretty seriously.
I'd say.
Hey, I thought it was funny too that it kept saying, "Where'd you learn that from?" He's like, "You wrote it in the Bible." Like,
Well, see, they hire him because he's a freelance actor, and I guess he really showed him his acting chops in that one, because he took it all very seriously. Like we talk about how he takes his actual roles very seriously. In the movie, he took that role very seriously, and he did his homework on that Bible. And the Bible is actually one of the main threads in the movie too, because everything that they did throughout the course of their childhood, they always kept a record of it in the Bible, so they could know, remember their lives down the road, and be able to retell them, or whatever they have to do to keep the continuity. But
So
even though, I don't know about you guys, but even though it was like a real raunchy, dirty kind of humor movie, I still think it had an incredible message behind it too, about the friendship and about the love and acceptance of one another. And I thought that was a pretty cool thread that I didn't really expect to have happen in it. The camaraderie and the brotherhood that was established in it, I think was the main story in itself. And I think that was pretty cool. I like the message that it had.
yeah,
well, yeah, with that, I didn't want to get too much into it, so until we got to the ending part, because it has a lot to do with the ending, and the Bible, and how he uses the Bible to basically make himself a better person. He was this trashy, raunchy person who was always drunk, didn't have his shit together, He basically almost homeless, and he uses this Bible and he changes his life around. He ends up in a successful career. He ends up in a relationship. He has friends in his life. He starts building all of these things. He starts becoming a philanthropist, which is what Ricky Stanicky's supposed to be. And all of these things that come out of him just portraying a character, fake it till you make it.
Yep. I mean, I think he self-identified as a shit baby. You guys remember that scene there where he talks about that?
oh man, yeah, that
Shit.
was
That was incredible. That was one of the lines in the movie, one of the pieces of dialogue, bro, that I fell out. I couldn't even handle that shit. That was so damn funny.
did I know it's off subject real quick, but did either of you guys watch the Peacemaker series that he did on HBO?
I have not seen the Peacemaker yet. I've been
What?
told a lot of things. I know. I've been told a lot of things about it, and I will get on it eventually, but I haven't watched it yet. What about you, Graham?
I only seen bits and pieces of it.
Oh man, that was a masterpiece, man. He killed it. I watched that series. I watched the whole thing, and then I watched it again, and made my son watch it. Oh, that one was funny. Like, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, vigilante. They found
Yeah,
off with the freaking bolt cutters.
yeah, yeah. They do some pretty wild stuff in that one, man.
Yeah,
Or
so
did you
that
guys see Vacation Friends with him?
You know what? I started that one, but again, I work some weird, crazy hours, bro, and it's like impossible. If I'm watching a movie and the sun's going down or the sun's gone already, I usually fall asleep, and it pisses me off because it makes me feel like an old ass man or something, But I'm working on it. I'm trying to get there.
Well, you always been an old man, so you know.
Oh, here we go. See, I got an old soul. I can't help it. My parents were older.
Yeah. Um, my what was your guys' favorite scene in that in the mine was when they were when the duck was dragging the dog when they were at the golf course,
oh yeah.
I,
and then I thought at first he was just gonna pull the leash a little, and then he started trying to drown the dog, and I said, "Whoa, man!"
that was a funny scene. I think my favorite thing though was probably that little montage or whatever of the jizz jams. I think that was just too damn funny for me because it was like one after another, and it was just so damn funny.
I
Hey,
don't
and
know.
then that. Oh, I would say that was cool how he would dress up as this as the singers too, you know. And then when he was
Yeah,
doing it,
yeah, that was awesome. And again, like that's him not being afraid to show his ass and to fully commit. You know what I mean? I think that speaks a lot for his character as a human being. You know.
right?
What
I
about
don't.
you, Kim?
I don't feel like I had really any favorite parts. Just because it was all equally funny. It was a good movie. I just like the whole roundabout, everything about it. Like Remo said it best when he talked about the camaraderie between the friends and things. And, there's things that come up in the story that even friends don't even know about, like the friend, I don't know, I want to say the actor's name is like something Hewley, but he was telling him in high school we had a thing. And he's like, what do you mean that wasn't in the Bible? And he says, yeah, but because he's gay. So he's telling his partner that in high school, him and Ricky Stanicky had a thing. So they were ex lovers, right? So he's saying that they basically have a different kind of relationship than because he had to use that to get out since he's having like a toxic relationship with his partner. So he uses Ricky Stanicky as like the other person.
Yeah, that
I'm look.
part was funny. And
I
and
got
then
my I
oh
got my tablet out here so we could use it for things if we need to look stuff up. So I'm trying to find the actor for you. Was it the guy named Wes? Is that who you're talking about?
Maybe. I don't remember what his name was, to be honest.
I'm on IMDb, but they're not helping me right now. So fuck them. I'm going back to Google.
uh, duck duck go.
Yeah.
You don't want Google following everything.
His name is Jermaine Fowler. That's the black guy that was the gay friend. That's his real name.
But a lot of good story points. Zach Efron, he was good as usual. Felt he played kind of a typical character. Um, Definitely like that they brought a wrestler into this movie. John Cena. If I may talk about some of the wrestling history there, just because when Rock came back and he and John Cena had that big feud, they were actually really hateful enemies. John Cena called out The Rock for riding
What?
forearm. And he really did because he couldn't remember lines. It'd been so long he'd been out. So he would have to have things on his forearm. And they really had heated debates and stuff. And out of it became really good friends. And because John Cena didn't understand why is this guy who hasn't been here for years now coming back trying to be a part of the biz. But he said he didn't understand at the time what The Rock was doing was building the entertainment side of WWE. He was opening the door for people like him and the Batistas and all of these guys go out and venture out and be in other genres instead of just being known for being a wrestler, actually being an entertainer, a worldwide entertainer.
I agree. And like in the '80s, there was a couple that tried to do it. I mean, like obviously Hogan comes to mind with a couple roles that he did, and also Piper. I think Piper did it much better than Hogan did because he actually had some acting chops and he was a much better dialogue. Um, but Hogan, kind of opened the door for most of them with the some of the roles he did, especially from the Rocky movie. So for wrestlers crossing over into entertainment has kind of been a thing for a while, but The Rock changed the whole game.
Yeah.
The Rock definitely started taking on more roles and had way better acting chops than any of the rest of them. And now, like you said, you see Batista and you see John Cena following suit, and both of them have the same type of quality with them. They're very good at what they do, and they have an extreme following because of it too. I mean, Batista and his Guardians work is amazing, but even aside from that, he's taken on a few other roles that are awesome too. So
Oh,
it's cool to see these guys.
man, and Blade Runner 2047 when he's that old guy is so freaking amazing. And he's also in the movie Dune. But I'm glad you brought up Hulk Hogan and his movie career because See, the difference I feel there is that Hulk Hogan was a gimmick thing because he was so popular in the 80s and all of that that they were just trying to make money off of what they could. Whereas The Rock, he wanted to be Will Smith. He was like, who's the highest paid actor in Hollywood? And who's the biggest action star? They said Will Smith. He says, then that's who I want to be. That's what I want to be. And by dominating that, like he did in wrestling, you know, he had to do all the Disney movies, do all that stuff to buy his name back. But after dominating the industry, now he made it something that is a worldwide entertainment thing.
Definitely, definitely. Dozer, you got anything to add to that?
Uh no, I didn't even know that those two were like wrestled against each other.
Oh,
But
so check it out. So when The Rock came back, it was supposed to be a once in a lifetime matchup at WrestleMania that turned out to be twice in a lifetime because they main evented 2 years in a row. And it was a pretty big deal. You know, I think the first one I think The Rock actually got hurt and
Yeah.
he tore something, tore a pec, a
No,
tricep,
he
something.
triple something hernia. He tore his whole midsection in three places from when John Cena slammed him and he landed sideways. So important for you out there that want to do backyard wrestling or whatever, always fall flat on your back. But he landed sideways, and when he did, he said he heard a pop. He talks about it on Joe Rogan. So he says he puts his hand down in his trunks, you know, to feel because he said something's wrong. And he feels and he's like, oh, okay, good. There's no bone sticking out or anything. So I didn't break nothing. And he's just like, yeah, something's wrong. So he stands up and he can't even walk. And at this point, he tore that muscle, I think, that goes down your stomach like that, right off the bone. So he can't even really use his leg. And at
Mm,
that point, where I think he said that they're only like 5 minutes in the match, right? And there's 15, 20 minutes to go because he asked the referee, how long do we have? And when he tells him, he's like, okay, fuck, I got to get through this, you know? And they continue on the match. He says John Cena nails another F5. And when he does that, he says that it just rips him up. And at that point, he gets rushed to the emergency room. They do uh, I think he did two or three surgeries, he said, to fix him because that's how they asked him how come he doesn't have a six pack when he's all ripped and stuff. And he said there's actually a story to that. And because of the surgeries and stuff and the way they had to put mesh and things and fix his abdomen, he says it's more like a one pack, some days like a four pack. But it's because they had to fix all his whole midsection. That's why it doesn't look all super ripped and defined like other people that are ripped like him.
yeah. And for those of you that want to correct everything, Grim meant the FU or the AA. He didn't mean the F5. So don't say anything. And speaking of the body transformations and stuff like that, to get back to Ricky Stanicky, Zach Efron is in
Yeah.
ridiculous shape. Like that dude is out of control right now. And obviously, you know, he's done a few roles where he's supposed to be showing off his body, and we'll get into another one here a little bit later in the show. But oh my gosh, that dude, man, he's ridiculous right now. I couldn't even believe it. He looks like a wrestler. He looks like a straight up bodybuilder wrestler, dude. And I know also along with his body transformation, there was something that happened, right, where he broke his jaw, I guess, or something. So he had
So
to have a little bit of work done. And it looks a lot more square now and a lot
that's
crazier than it used to.
that's what I wanted to mention. I mean, I know you mentioned we're gonna get into the movie later, but when he
hey,
played
I'll be back in like 1 minute.
Right on, brother.
when he played in Iron Claw, you know, even though he's super jacked, his jaw just looked it made him look like He-Man. Okay,
Yeah.
and really chiseled. And in Ricky Stanicky, when you see him, and he's not as jacked as he was in Iron Claw, but he's still, you know, a decent size. His jaw is still very squared out like it was in Iron Claw. And I was like, damn, I thought that was CGI, but it's freaking, that's how it looks.
Yeah, he got some work done. One of my daughters was talking about how something happened and he broke his jaw. Something happened and he had to get some work done on it. and that's why. But yeah, it's kind of crazy, man, to see not just the facial reconstruction and the way that transformation has been, but again, like you said, in the Iron Claw too. Like this dude is ridiculously jacked. He's definitely got that bodybuilder wrestler build right now, and I'm anxious to see what he does with it now. Like what kind of other action movies or whatever is going to come from it now, because he's showing a lot of chops himself right now.
Speaking of jacked bodies, have you guys seen the new Roadhouse or yeah Roadhouse yet?
So I saw a trailer on it just this morning actually, and I saw just a quick little scene with Connor and Jake Gyllenhaal, and I was like, damn, because Connor looks ridiculous anyway. But Jake Gyllenhaal, I saw him in some kind of other MMA movie not too long ago. I didn't see the whole movie, but I saw a scene from it where that dude's in ridiculous shape too, man. These actors
Yeah,
nowadays are no freaking joke.
Dude,
yeah,
South.
that
Oh, I love that movie with Jake
Is that what
Gyllenhaal.
it is?
That
yeah,
boxing movie. That movie's so sick.
There's an
yeah that
MMA one.
I don't know. I know there's clips in the Roadhouse movie that his character was an MMA
Oh,
fighter. So he like
maybe that's
flashes
what
back. He flashes back, and they actually shot it at a real UFC fight and everything. It's like a real crowd and everything, and they filmed it. But yeah, you guys should watch that movie. I just watched it last night. Pretty badass, really good. But yeah, that fool was ripped in that movie. I was like, jeez, that's how I'm trying to get.
I'm. Sounds like that'll be another review here in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Write it down.
Duly noted.
uh,
But
Is there anything else you guys want to get into on Ricky Stanicky before we get into our next movie?
no, I just like to tell everybody that was a good comedy, well worth watching. Good, you're gonna laugh from beginning to end, and it's all around a really good movie.
I agree. Graham, you got anything to add?
no, I think we covered it pretty well.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, we're going to stick with our Zach Efron thread, and we're going to go into the Iron Claw, actually. And for those of you that don't know the story, the Iron Claw kind of chronicles the life story of the Von Erich family, most of them at least. There is an omission of one of the brothers that I think kind of hurts it a little bit, but I understand why they did it. Hollywood changes things a little bit because when it's based on a true story, that doesn't mean that they stick to the true story. They just kind of base everything off of it. Um, there was another brother named Chris, like I said, that was a smaller guy. He really didn't have any of the athletic build or height or anything of the rest of the brothers. I think he actually had something wrong with him. I think he was
Yeah,
born with
he had,
some kind of a defect.
he had a bone disease, so his
Yeah,
bones were more likely to break, which they did. And once they started breaking in wrestling, he just started spiraling down, and he went into a depression because he couldn't. Because at the time his brothers were dying. They were either dying by the one with his gut exploding, and then suicides and things of that nature. And people were putting a lot of pressure on Chris to carry the Von Erich name in wrestling. And with his bone disease, he was
mm,
having a lot of issues. And like Remo said, he wasn't very big, and he wasn't as physically fit as his brothers. So all of that stuff accumulated to his depression. But
I
so
think.
if
Go ahead.
they basically took Chris and Carrie and mixed their stories because their deaths are so similar, which that's what Remo was kind of touching on.
Yeah, well, that and also like the Mike, the brother Mike was also very similar with Chris too, where he didn't have the build that the other brothers had, and he didn't have the athleticism that the other brothers had. So I think that they kind of used what happened with Carrie and what happened with Mike, and just kind of said, well, that's kind of both of those together kind of make Chris's story a little bit. So I think that was another part of the omission, because Mike was another one too, where I think he was the one who more so. Felt pressured to keep the family name going and to be another successful wrestler like the other brothers. And I think it was a little bit different with Chris. I think Chris actually wanted to do it. I don't think Mike actually wanted to do it. I think he felt pressured and ever since one of the other brothers died, David, he says in the movie too, everybody wants me to be David, but I'm not, you know. And I think Chris was a little different. I think he wanted to be that guy and he wanted to be just like his brothers, but he physically couldn't and was never going to be able to. So I think that was one of the main differences between the two. But before we get too much more into each individual story, for those that are still new to this and don't really know, it chronicles the story of a father and his five sons. And the father, Fritz, was a wrestler back in the day. He was a kind of like a Nazi character, actually. Yeah, and that's where the Iron Claw came from, like Grim is showing y'all. That was his finishing maneuver. And he had never got to get the title, the NWA title, which was a traveling championship at the time, probably the biggest uh, title in pro wrestling until the WWF started making its rise. And in the movie, they talk about how Fritz never got it and how it kind of turned into where he wanted his son. He created his own promotion called WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, and he had these sons that were very athletically gifted and was training them and wanted them to be the stars of his show. And the brothers, for those that don't know, there was Kevin, Kerry, David, Mike, and Chris. And then there was another one, Jack Jr., that passed before when he was a little kid still. That would have been the oldest brother. But the only one, I feel like the story is being told through Kevin's eyes, and that's the Zac Efron character. And we talked about how John Cena had fully committed with the Ricky Stanicky character. I think that Zac Efron did an amazing job as Kevin Von Erich. He even sounded like him, which was crazy to me because Kevin kind of has a distinctive um, Southern drawl to him. You know, they're all Texans. They're from Denton, Texas, and I thought that his performance was awesome, and he was the heart of the movie, really. And I feel like he embodied Kevin very well.
Yeah, I think they all did an excellent job. Let's touch on this though, with it being a wrestling movie. Did you guys know that Chavo Guerrero trained them guys for their in-ring performances?
Not only did he train them all, but he also had a role in the movie too. He was the Iron Sheik. You see him little scene in the beginning.
So
Did you know about that, Doja?
No, I was I was kind of curious though, because they always have somebody professionally train them, to act in the movies to make it more, realistic or more on point. But yeah, I didn't know none of that.
And we should definitely give a big shout out to Chavo because most of the wrestling movies and shows that have come out in the past few years or so, maybe 10 years at that, have all kind of been Chavo. This is like his new line of work that he does is this choreography from professional wrestling because he also did it for the Glow series that was on Netflix not too long ago when they revamped that. And he also did another one that I'm
was
forgetting
it
right now.
the wrestler with
No, that was before he was doing it. I can't remember who was helping him out on the wrestler, who was helping Mickey Rourke out, but I don't think it was Chavo on that one. I think Chavo's been a little bit more recent than that. But even so, big ups to Chavo for it. He's been doing a lot of great work, and clearly he's a master of his craft, and because he gets all of these guys up to speed and up to par pretty well, and they're able to hide their lack of experience.
while we're talking about Chavo right now, I want to mention something I did to Remo on the phone a few days back. It was the Jim Cornette podcast. Okay, so on Jim Cornette, who's also a wrestling staple in the community, used to be a manager and ran his own promotion, Crockett Promotions, didn't he? Wasn't he?
No,
Or
he's in Smoky Mountain.
Smoky Mountain, yeah. So Jim Cornette actually on his podcast was talking about how these actors playing wrestlers understood the business better than a guy who runs the business. And they were referencing Tony Khan, saying that the way that he runs his business is like a rich kid who owns a bunch of
All these
action
stories.
figures and just wants to book matches, doesn't know how to write storylines or anything like that, doesn't understand actual wrestling business, just has a fandom and wants to put together wrestlers, collect them, if you will. But he's saying that like the Kerry Von Erich actor, I can't think of his name at the moment, but he was saying that when they were training with Chavo, he understood that wrestling it's more than just the in-ring ability, the physicality of it, and it's more than just the mic skills because every move, it's like an opera, he said. It's like storytelling. Every move in the ring, you're telling a story. And some of it even goes to a deeper rooted story that draws out over a long period of time. And the fact that an actor could understand that, but a guy who runs a wrestling promotion can't understand that. That was their point, is that because he'd say that you'd be wrestling, you're tired, you can't even stand up anymore. And Chavo would be like, great, now you got to power up. And he'd be like, power up, I can't even freaking stand anymore. And that's just what it's about.
And that actor's name is Jeremy Allen White, by the way, which and he did a great job as Carrie, but at the same time, I felt like there was a couple people, and I'm sure we'll continue to get more into it, but there was a couple guys that I felt didn't exactly do do the looks of it all justice. I felt like the guy that played Carrie should have been this Greek god looking kind of guy, a bigger dude. But this guy was actually a shorter guy, and he wasn't. He was jacked, of course, but he wasn't like as physically imposing as I thought that the Carrie character should have been. But he still did an incredible job as Carrie. I'm not gonna knock him at all for that because I think he did a very good job with it. And if you guys want to get into some of the other actors real quick and just
Well,
how they did, go
real
ahead.
quick, I just want to say with that, I think that the reason why they went that route is again for the Chris reason, for time's sake, because the stories were so similar in their deaths and
Mhm.
their trauma with what they dealt with, injury and stuff, and Chris's medical condition. I feel like they allowed for the height and size thing to also be a factor in that.
I don't know why they would do that with Kerry though, because he was the most recognizable of all of the brothers because he's the only one that actually went to WWF. So I don't know.
But
I get it because of how they passed away, like how it was a similar story there. But I feel like if that were the case, they should have just left it with Mike like that. But
well,
again,
if we
go ahead.
we didn't get into it, so Mike, he got injured in a match and he
Mhm.
had to have surgery. And from that surgery, I think he developed MRSA, wasn't it? Where and after,
Toxic shock syndrome.
yeah, which got into his bloodstream and then got into his brain. I think he went into a coma for a few days
Hmm.
and came out of it. And the family said that Mike was never the same after. And even in interviews and things, it's not like there's something wrong with him. It's just you can tell there's,
Well,
I don't.
he had a fever of 107 for several hours, I think they said. So just that alone did his brain chemistry a whole lot of damage. And I think he was obviously slower and less um he wasn't able to emote, I guess, as well. He seemed very, very kind of gone. Like even
Yeah.
when you look in his eyes in some of the old interviews that like when he came out of the hospital, he didn't even look like he was there. It was like the lights were on, but nobody was home.
Hmm.
Doja,
Hey,
did you
so
know anything about the story before watching it?
it's kind of funny that you said that because I was just gonna ask. I never knew anything about it. No, about the story at all. But I was just gonna ask if you both of you have seen the actual wrestling match and the real people that they were portraying in the movie. Because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know anything about that at all.
So those of you who have been watching for since the first episode, you know that me and Remo we're longtime wrestling fans. So for me, I would like to mention that since we're on this movie, is my first instance with suicide had to do with Kerry Von Erich because as a kid I really liked him as the Texas Tornado in the WWE. And I remember asking my uncle one time, "Whatever happened to Texas Tornado?" And he said, "Oh, you didn't know? He killed himself." And as a little kid, you're like, "What? What?" And I really didn't understand it at the time, but it was my first encounter with something like that, like understanding what suicide and things of that nature were. And then learning that he had the wooden foot, which I guess we could get into, that he was in a motorcycle accident. So here's something I would like to say about that in the movie. I felt like in this part of it, like I thought the movie was really well done. I think they captured a lot of what needed to be captured with the story of the family, the brothers, the father, their relationship, and their legacy in the wrestling business. But with the Kerry Von Erich story, I do feel like they rushed that whole scene, because one moment he's upset his brother just died, then he's out riding the motorcycle, and you're just kind of like, well, what the hell's going on? Then he's in the hospital, and you're like, oh, are they really doing this scene like this right now? And the next scene is like him walking in the kitchen to get milk, and it's showing him from the chest up, but then when they show him, he's standing on crutches and his foot's gone, and you're like, oh, what the hell? They just like blew right past that whole story, you know
I saw. I just finished it yesterday. It took me a couple days to watch it because I was watching on one of those free movie sites that has a million ads in it, and I didn't see that part. I didn't see him on crutches or in the kitchen or anything like that. The first scene I saw afterwards was him putting on the prosthetic leg, and it shows all the like road rash all over his shoulders and arms and stuff still. And I thought kind of the same thing. I wish they would have explained that a little bit better, just so like if you didn't know the story you wouldn't exactly know
yeah,
why or what happened or anything like that. So I feel like that continuity factor was kind of missing there.
yeah.
Dulce, did you understand what had happened there?
Yeah, somewhat. Hey, so it's true that he did wrestle and he would never take off his boot because he didn't want. Who was it that was telling me that? Was it
I
one
did.
of you guys?
I
Yeah, and he
so
wouldn't
Yes.
take them off.
so
His entire career in WWF, he had one leg or one.
yeah. So after he lost his foot, only the family, they kept it a secret, and once he got back in the ring, he traveled and showered with that boot always on. He wouldn't take it off in front of people because he didn't want them to know that he was a cripple. And
Mhm.
so no one knew that he lost his foot until 7 years later at his funeral. That's when all the people found out that he was actually like had a prosthetic leg.
That's wild.
So my I knew who the Texas Tornado was. Like I mentioned in earlier episodes, we used to go to Blockbuster and rent these old WrestleMania, Summer Slams, whatever. So I remember seeing him since then. I had his little action figure. I was a fan, but again, in wrestling, people come and go all the time. You know what I mean? To different companies, whatever. There's always some reason. So I hadn't seen him in forever, but I always remembered who he was. And once WWE started producing all of their documentaries, they did a documentary on the whole WCCW, and it was called "The Triumph and Tragedy of WCCW." And I watched that documentary, and that entire story is ridiculous. Not just of the family, but of the whole promotion in general. There's so much to the story there. So that's how I first learned about um, the other brothers, obviously, and that's where I first learned about what happened with Kerry. And that was incredible to me that he was able to perform as well as he did like that. Like I said, his entire WWF career, he was on one foot, and this dude was awesome. He was awesome to watch in the ring and all of that. So big ups to him for being able to do what he did. I don't know many people that can do it that way. You know what I mean? There have been one-legged wrestlers since, but I don't think any of them have done half of what he was able to do in the ring.
But
As far as
Olympic athlete. Let's mention that though. Of all the brothers, he was an Olympic athlete. What was it that happened though? Didn't he have an injury or something that caused him
I
not to
don't
be able?
remember. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but yeah, he was a discus thrower, and he was had records. I'm not sure if they were world records, but I'm sure they were records in Texas or in his school or whatever it may have been, collegiate maybe. But he definitely was an incredible athlete, and he was the most jacked and the most well put together of all the brothers. Obviously, Kevin was very good, body type and stuff also, but Kerry was the one. Kerry was the one that was the most of a wrestler build and had the look of it all.
The Greek
Yeah,
god.
I,
exactly.
I'm gonna have to check out some of their highlights and stuff, and check out the matches, see so I can know what you guys are talking about. Nah,
Well, check it out. Check it out. For those of you that would like to check it out, if you go on your Peacock, you can see all of this stuff. You go and check out the documentary section there and find the triumph and tragedy of WCCW, and it tells the whole story. Which kind of brings me to my next point, real quick. Because I had watched that, I had grown a certain amount of affinity, I guess, for Gino Hernandez. He was another character from the WCCW story that had a very tragic ending, but he was the handsome half breed, they said, because he was half Italian and half Mexican. And I was hoping when I first saw the trailer for the Iron Claw, I was hoping that we would get a Gino Hernandez little cameo or something in there, and sure enough, we did. So that was awesome. And if we could just get into for a second some of the supporting cast characters of wrestlers that we had there. The Gino one was awesome. I thought Harley Race did a very good
Yeah,
job also. I don't think he necessarily looked like him in the face, but the build was right. The voice could have been a little bit better because Harley had a very distinctive voice also, but he did a good job as Harley. But I know a lot of people, including myself, were not exactly thrilled with the Ric Flair character.
really,
Um,
I liked it. I didn't think he was horrible, but I thought it did the job. I mean, I wouldn't have said that I'd make a Ric Flair movie with that Ric Flair, but for the look and what it needed to be, I thought it was good. And I don't think he needed to overshadow the story, because this is about the Von Erichs. It wasn't
oh
about Ric
shit.
Flair, his legacy as a wrestler. But if I may mention, because I was watching the documentary about it and the real life story, and I don't know if you guys knew this. They show it in the movie, but they don't get so much into it. So, and this is a real life thing. When he grabs Ric Flair's head and he has him in the Iron Claw, and after his brothers are dead, and it's Kevin, isn't it? And he won't let go, and it was for the title, and he's holding his head till his head starts bleeding. That's real life. He said he blacked out in that match. Like all of this pressure, everything he was going through, losing his brothers, the whole title match, everything they were building him up to that. And it was this whole legacy thing. And in that moment, as soon as he like grabbed him, he said that he just lost control and he blacked out and he wouldn't let go. He said he was going to kill him. He said all of that rage, everything he had going on from his brothers, everything, he was going to kill that guy, and they had to pull him off, and he ended up getting disqualified in that match.
now, just from what you said there, it takes me to this place where do you think that it was the representation of what Ric Flair represented there as the NWA champion and how their dad was like kind of obsessed with them taking the title home because he was never able to get it and he was pushing his kids so hard to get it. Do you think it was almost like I hate this whole thing, like this is what this championship has done to my family, you know what I mean? Do you think that some of that was part of that pressure there? Because that's where it takes me. That's what it makes me think of.
Maybe, I don't know, like because here that would be more speculation than
Yeah.
actual words, but I feel like, okay, so Doja and we were having the conversation the other day, and I was telling him one of the scenes I wanted to bring up in the movie because I thought it was really well done. How they just showed all this angst in the family and the pressure that the father put on him, and his aggression, his coldness. Okay, is when Kevin comes out literally after Carrie shot himself, right? And the father comes around the corner, Franz, and he tells him, so Kevin tells him, I told you to look out for him. I called you and I told you to keep an eye out for him. And the father's basically like, it's not my job to babysit him. You should have been there for him.
Yeah, he said he called you. You should have been there for him.
Yeah, and it was so cold. And when he took him down, I mean, I can't even blame him in the moment. But I mean, Kerry literally just shot himself, and the dad was just so cold to Kevin in that moment. And he had a hierarchy with his sons, and it's in the preview. It's at the beginning of the movie where he's ranking all his sons and telling them who's at the top, who's his favorite, but the rankings can change.
Hmm. Yeah, Fritz von Erich was known to be a hard ass, and like the way he was with his children was the way I think in society in those days. I think there was a lot of fathers like that, unfortunately, and I think that it didn't really do justice to that generation, because I think a lot of them didn't get to hear how proud their fathers were of them and how much their fathers loved them or anything like that. I think being a dad in those days meant something a little bit different than it does to us nowadays. And this family, I think, just it wreaked havoc on their entire relationship and on their whole family dynamic. I mean, you could see
So
even the mom had such a hard time with so many of the things that the father was doing or implementing in the life. And just for a quick shout out to her, that's Maura Tierney. For those that remember, she was the one from Liar Liar. She was the mom from Liar Liar, and to see her in this movie, I was kind of like, wow, she did a great job, and I think she also carried a lot of the heart from the movie also.
So before we change the subject real quick, I want, since you beautifully brought up the whole father subject, in the story of the movie, I felt like it culminated full circle into a very beautiful moment when Kevin's sitting outside and he's crying and his kids are like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And he says, "I used to be a brother and now I have no brothers." And they say it's okay to cry, Dad, and you have us. And it was a really powerful, beautiful moment of a culmination, of that whole story. Even though there was a lot of tragedy, and it was like breaking the generational curses, right? That's what
Yeah,
people talk about a lot nowadays. And
I agree. I couldn't even have said it any better. They told him, they said, "We'll be your brothers now, Dad," and
yeah,
and that was just awesome to see that it was like that camaraderie came all right back again. You know what I mean? And even still to this day, Ross and Marshall, the Von Erichs, they're a tag team and they're kicking butt nowadays. So I don't know if you knew that, Doja, but those two little boys are a tag team these days, and they're making their family.
they just wrestled with Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, in AEW recently in a six-man tag match.
Dang, so that
Yep.
would be like what, third generation of
Yep.
wrestlers from that film?
Yeah,
That's
they're,
Yeah,
pretty.
they're third generation for sure. Yeah, and Carrie also had a daughter. Her name was Lacey Von Erich. She was in TNA for a while. I don't think she wrestles anymore though. But yeah, their family legacy still lives on. And Kevin, I think he could absolutely work for any company and be like some kind of a creative mind or a producer or something. But he chose not to. He followed a real estate, and I know they have a ranch in Hawaii. And at the end of the movie, it shows how he brought the whole family with him and had everybody living with him. And you saw that picture of the whole extended family in the ranch in Hawaii there, and that was pretty awesome. It just goes to show how he was always this older brother that looked out for his little brothers and still does, even when they're not here anymore. And I think that that's another beautiful part of it. Like the message from this movie, although there's so much tragedy and heartache and heartbreak in it, there's still such a beautiful message to be told in that story also.
I know when we were talking about the beach scene. He's sitting there and then he's like reflecting, and I'm like, damn, this is a sad ass movie. And then and then he says that to his kids, and then throws me back to I've heard, I can't tell you how many things out of my kids' mouths that kind of just changed my point of view about shit. And I always say they're my greatest teachers. And
Oh yeah.
and but that part was like when they said that, I was like, oh yeah, man, it's like sometimes I feel like that too. But I like people be like, you need to get in relationships and this and that, and I go, I want to focus on relationship with my kids. That's what's important to me. Other than then the other ones will come in. But like that part, I felt that a lot. It's just like, man, way they end it. Kind of like heartwarming ending. It's just like, yeah, that's I got my I got my my I have my daughter, my she tells me a lot, and it changes a lot of my point of view and stuff.
That's a very good point. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because that's a very strong thing that we have together nowadays. As fathers, and I know y'all are grandfathers. I know that's something that That's something that we've all come to grow with, and has changed us all as men, and that's awesome. But just to get back to it for a second about that ending there, you also get to see Zac Efron, the Kevin character. You get to see him cry finally and get that release because I'm sure you remember earlier in the movie when David passed away, the dad made them all take off their sunglasses and told them that they weren't going to cry,
Oh,
that they couldn't show that weakness and that they couldn't cry. So I
yeah.
thought that was another strong point about the ending of that movie is he was finally able to release all of that tension and all of that sadness that he carried with him, and it was just a real beautiful moment. Um,
I,
but just for a second, if we could get back to the supporting cast characters, there was this MJF. For those of us that are AEW fans nowadays, he was supposed to be in it as Lance Von Erich, but that must have only been like a real quick scene in the in ring because I didn't see him with any kind of speaking parts or anything, unless the version I saw was a little bit different.
I didn't really see
well,
him.
well, when you watch those movies on those free sites, they are different.
Yep, yep. Duly noted. Duly noted.
No, but I didn't really see him. I like MJF, and considering that, I like CM Punk, and I feel like CM Punk was a big reason, and Cody Rhodes. Okay, so both guys that went to WWE played major factors in MJF coming to the top, and Freddie Prinze Jr., who most of you may know as the actor in Scooby Doo and She's All That and many other teen love movies, but he was a writer for WWE SmackDown for many, many years. And
What?
yeah,
Yeah.
he
He
retired.
also did a podcast where he talks a lot about it, Dojo. I'll send you a link.
I
So
didn't know. I didn't know that either.
he said for him, of all the wrestlers in the modern day, MJF is a writer's gold. And I definitely would have to agree with that. That guy's got a lot of charisma, a lot of talent, and he's got the it factor,
Now I
mostly
have
in WWE.
yeah. Now I haven't again, like I mentioned in previous episodes, I haven't really been able to watch a whole lot of AEW. So I'm not as well versed on the totality of his career so far. But I have seen a lot of clips and I have seen a lot of things to where I was looking forward to see what his performance was going to have for us in this movie. So I was a little disappointed to not see more of him or at least a big significant scene. So I was a little disappointed in that, but it was still cool that he was involved in it. I think MJF right now he's off of TV from what I understand, and I think that he's gonna be hopefully making a move to WWE sometime soon because I think that's where he'll flourish the most. But at the same time, it's really tough as a wrestler these days to like all the rosters are pretty saturated. They're fully stocked rosters on every brand. So I don't know. I'm nervous about it. If he were to go to WWE, if he'd get lost in the shuffle, kind of like how a lot of people that go from WWE to AEW get lost in the shuffle. So we'll see what happens.
But
Hopefully,
MJF was AEW's longest reigning champion, and they just had him lose it to Samoa Joe a few months back. And I think it was so that he could take some much needed time off because his contract's coming up.
yeah, yeah. I think one of the plot points of his character in the past year was about his contract expiring and him playing both companies to see where he was going to sign. So I'm anxious to see what happens there. Um, Is there any more you guys want to get into on the Iron Claw before we get into some of our musical picks for the week?
Oh, you guys are talking about the Ric Flair. I cracked up laughing when that scene where he's in the locker room after the match and stuff, and he's like, "Woo, man, that was a wild match. If you want to do it again, just let me know." I was like,
Man, I'm like so. I think that was the word the whole part of Ric Flair in the movie just really bugs the crap out of me, man. Like that's my least favorite thing about all of it. I feel like he was a caricature of Ric Flair. Even the woo even seemed ridiculous to me. Like I was
It,
so
it was exactly what you said. It was a caricature of Ric Flair, but like I said, it needed to be that because
I
in
don't think it needed to be that. I was disappointed with that. I think they could have
hey,
been more true to form with him because he was the
hey,
biggest
but
star in wrestling. So.
it
but
it just Oh, I was saying it just clicked in my head. Maybe they portrayed him like that because Ric Flair is such a likable character in the movie. They wanted it where he was like kind of not like a likable character and annoyed us and stuff.
And
That's a
that's
good
what
point.
I'm trying to say because of the rivalry between the Von Erichs and Flair. Like, why would you want any of this attention on Flair? You don't, because he's not a point in the movie other than the point is he's an obstacle for the brothers to overcome. You know what I
I,
mean?
I see it. I see your point. Still don't like it though. Still wish they would have got somebody better. Still wish they could have done at least do better woos and get the hair right. The hair just was fucking with me too the whole time. I'm like, oh, come on, man, damn.
Have,
But other than
have,
that, I thought the movie was awesome.
have either of you tried the Ric Flair weed yet?
I have not. I almost bought it one time, but I have not got that. I think it's called the Ric Flair drip or something like that.
Really? That's a
Yeah,
song by Savage 21 and uh who else does it? I can't think of it right now.
like the Amigos or something. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, Mike Tyson also has a strain out there too that they're branding and stuff. So it would be cool to try some of these strains out. Whenever I get back into it, we'll see if I could get a hold of some of those and we could review those on the show too.
Right. Uh, did you? Since we're talking about Ric Flair, real quick, have you watched the documentary? I think it was on Peacock, or
Yeah.
that was pretty.
Yeah.
That was pretty
The
interesting.
Ric
I
Flair
didn't.
story.
Yeah.
Now I'm not sure if I've seen that one. I know I've seen the 30 for 30 one, the one that ESPN did, the Nature Boy
No,
one.
yeah, it's the Nature Boy one. It's the one that you told me that you watched, and you wanted. Remember, I called you the day, Remo, and I was like, you know what I watched the other day? I said you've been trying to get me to watch it for years, but I finally watched that Ric Flair documentary.
Yeah, that's an incredible story too. He's a trip, man. That dude, there's nobody like him and never will be. Another one.
Well, we'll have to note that one, and we'll talk about Ric Flair because he's a whole episode too.
Duly noted.
I didn't
But yeah,
see you kind of wrote it down fast. No no
Oh,
men,
see,
no more
I'll
mental
just
notes.
circle it. I
I
had
think
his name in my notes here. I'll just circle it so we know.
Oh,
I
okay, good.
There we go.
wrapped up Iron Claw pretty well. Then there
All
to
right.
jump.
Well,
Cool.
any other last words on it from either of you two?
Just another one that highly recommend for everybody. I actually bought the movie, like, so I own it, and it was just a wild good movie. It's everything was really good.
So me personally, like I said, I had to watch it on one of these free sites, and I had to do it in a couple different sittings because it's a long movie. It's a 3 hour movie. So it took me a couple shots at it because we all got busy lives, and I knew as soon as it ended that I had to watch it again. I have to watch it again, and I want to watch it with my family. I'd like to watch it with my kids and my girl. I know she wanted to see it, so I'm gonna have to watch it again, and hopefully we'll do the same thing. We'll just buy it and see the whole thing in its entirety without any of these silly ads, so so I could have a better understanding of some of the stuff that I think I missed. But I
Yeah,
do recommend it to everybody. Also, I think it was an awesome flick. They all did great jobs. Every character, every role, except for Ric Flair, and I recommend it to everybody. So, with that said, that's a wrap on the Iron Claw. Uh, let's go ahead and get into some of our songs. As some of you have come to realize, that we do also 2 songs a week for each of us. That if we're if we're profiling an artist that we're talking about, we pick 2 of their songs. But on weeks like this, where it's more movies and we're not exactly profiling an artist, we just pick other songs that we like to add to our playlist. That'll be on Remo Vinci's Spotify for those of you that want to peep it out. And today, let's go ahead and start with Grim. What was your first song that you chose?
So I'm gonna go with let's go with Nerve Bad Habits first. I don't know, it's a song I've been listening to for a few years and it really resonates with me. Like I've been talking about, like in our Tupac episode, I like a lot of things that resonate with me more than maybe what I used to. yes, there's things that I like from my past, but I don't listen to those as much as I. So the song "Bad Habits" is basically about, as any other song, love song, that the bad habit is falling in love with the person, but the person's basically not the person for you, you know. And when you guys don't work it out, then he's alone, but he always gives into his bad habits, right? That's what the song's about. And I don't know, I really like it. I like the way that it sounds. And I don't know, just freaking everything about it. It just has this resonance within me. That
I love it. I love it. I did add it to our playlist, and we will keep updating that every week. So for those of you that want to check it out, and I'm one of them, I'm gonna have to listen to it because I don't think I've ever heard it. Doja, have you heard that one?
No.
Yeah, we're both gonna have to peep it out. What was your first song, Doja?
uh, the blue song.
yeah,
But what is it? I
I
65.
I bet
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Uh,
I used to listen
uh,
when I was in high school.
yeah.
what,
Uh,
so, go ahead, Doja. Tell us why you chose
so,
that one.
so I first heard that song on the Iron Man movie. At the beginning of it, it plays that song, and then I checked it out, and I just like the up tempo beat and stuff, and then like my kids like the song, and it's just I've listened to it for years, and then it's just funny to me because like a lot of times I'd be like that, just blue about life, and just kind of, and it's like, in the song everything's blue, and it's just like a funny, fun, happy song, and I wanted to pick something that was just totally off from, cause yeah, cause I mean, first I had I was gonna pick some rap songs, but then I was like, I want to do something that's just some off the wall song that I listen to that nobody would really think I'd actually listen to that song. So
So
yeah.
every week we have our little group chat and we send each other the songs that we're gonna choose for the week. And when I got Doja's, I instantly just started cracking up and I said, "Yep, there he goes. I already know." But
Uh,
my first situation with that song, I was a kid and I remember, I think one of my cousins was playing it at the time, and it was so damn catchy. That freaking song is a catchy ass song. It's hard to not bob your head to it or something. Even though I think
right.
it's a ridiculous song, and even though it's got a whole new life of its own, ever since then, it's still a pretty cool record. So that'll be on our playlist for those of you that want to peep out Blue Dabba Dee.
I was gonna pick, my first one was Barbie Girl, but I went with the blues song.
The blues song for me, I feel like is like it's our era's version of Baby Shark, because all of us that are parents, I'm sure, like that song came out, but it's so freaking catchy, and now you like hear it and you're just like, even though it's been years, but when the kids like it, you end up liking it too.
That's funny. That's a great that's a great way of putting that right there, my brother.
Well, because I seen it first on Disney when I was like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, between 14 and 16, somewhere around there. I don't know. Like I said, I was in early high school. Um, it was on Disney. You know how they used to feature music all the time, and they're featuring new artists. That's back when NSYNC was out, Britney Spears, all of that stuff, and they had that song on there, and I thought it was really cool. I thought the video was funny, beats
That's
catchy.
good. Well, my first let me pull up my list here. My first part of the song that I wanted to pick was called "Best Thing Smoking" with Burner, Wiz Khalifa, Snoop Dogg, and Be Real. Now, we're the Dro Bro show, and I figured since I can't partake with y'all right now, I might as well throw a weed song in there. You know what I mean? To try and even it out a little bit. So, if you guys haven't heard this one, it's pretty cool. It's got a real chill beat to it, and when I'm kind of an early riser because of my schedule and whatnot, and it just has this like cool chill morning vibe to it when I listen to it. So when I was picking my songs, it was early in the morning, and I'm like, you know what, this is gonna be right on point for what I'm trying to do. So I'd highly recommend it. It's a good song. Have y'all heard that one?
No, I haven't. And
Cool. Definitely
Uh,
gonna have to share this playlist with y'all so you can peep it out. Grim, what was the second song you chose? And just to let you guys know, we're coming up on a minute, an hour and 15 right now, so gonna have to wrap it up pretty soon.
okay, so I picked Savior, the song by Rise Against. I really like it, really upbeat. That's like my vibe. If you know me, that whole song, the sound, the intensity, the progression, everything, that's my vibe. Just how it sounds. I like the punkiness. And the other day, just a quick story, my kid, he was singing that song, and I was like, why does that sound so familiar? And then I was like, what are you singing? He's like, our song. And he started singing it again, and it clicked, and I was like, oh, you're singing Savior by Rise Against. And it was just like a very special moment, I would say.
Hell yeah, I like it. I peeped out the two songs that you sent me this morning, just like quickly, so I could make sure I got them on the playlist. And I did like the sound of both of them. Definitely want to listen to them a little bit further. So that'll be cool to get into. Doja, have you heard that one?
no. Uh.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to share these playlists with each other so we could peep out some of these other songs that we chose. What was your second song, Doja?
Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse. So this was a band I recently got into. A little quick funny story. It's my brother's one of his bands that he likes to listen to, which is like hard heavy metal music. We his dad always raised us on more upbeat uh rock and roll, and his dad would wail on the guitar, so we always kind of been. I always say I rap, but I'm actually like a metalhead. I love listening to that type of music. But anyways, he flew out. He took me to a concert. Me and Isaiah, my son, he took us to a concert in Albuquerque to go see this band. And man, when they performed, and that was like instant fan, and I just been getting into their music. And I just it's a badass song, it's a badass video. And that's how I feel too, like like the Misfit, the Monster, like the way he explains, like a pop, he's like a, he's popular, but he's like an outcast at the same time. He's like, the like a monster to society, basically. It's pretty dope. It's one of my workout songs too.
That's
Get you
awesome.
pumped up.
That's awesome. I can't wait to check that out. That's gonna be cool. I've never heard that song. Graham, have you heard that one?
No, I haven't, and I definitely want to check it out. I've heard of the band though, and that's why when I seen the song, I was like, oh, I want to check that song out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm glad you brought up like workout song because my that takes me into my second song, and it's called "Thrill Switch" by Cut One, and it's just an instrumental. There's no actual lyrics to it at all. It's all kind of like a rock instrumental, more kind of poppy, I guess too. My first exposure to this song is it was actually for those wrestling fans. It was Pentagon Junior's song in Lucha Underground, and it was badass. That's the first time I heard it. As soon as I heard it, the very first time when he came out to it, can't remember which episode or whatever it was for those of you Lucha Underground fans, but it was awesome. I think it was when he wrestled Vampiro. Actually, I think that was my first exposure to it. But it just hit me right away, and I loved it. And it's also one of those like early morning workout songs. You know what I mean? It just kind of gets you pumped up and stuff. So that's why I'm pretty happy that you said about the workout because it kind of intertwines with that. I definitely recommend it to both you guys. I think you'll dig it.
Uh,
Yeah, I want that. Like, well, and then like in the future too, you know, just for everybody to know too, we just didn't have the time, but we'll usually listen to these songs and check out, before we actually, you know, share them with everybody. But yeah, I want to definitely. Hey, what I thought was kind of cool is all of us picked songs that none of us knew, so it's all new music for us all to check out.
Yep,
yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, is that a wrap?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's a wrap. Another one down.
With that being said, everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the Dro Bro Show. No wrestling news this week again because of all the traveling schedules and conflicts and stuff like that. So next week we'll have to pick it up double time on some of that because we're coming up on Mania real quick, and there's a lot of things that have been happening in the world. So for those of you that are interested in our takes on some of that stuff, stay tuned. There will be more to come. Um, Anything that want to add right at the end here, fellas?
No.
No.
Oh,
Um,
I would like to add for this week, something for the viewers out there, just to help be more interactive. If you guys do watch wrestling, who do you think is gonna win at the Rumble first night between Seth and Cody and The Rock and Roman? And on night 2, do you think that is gonna be a Bloodline Rules or without? Leave the answers in the comments below, and we'll be sure to check them out. And we'll review some of those comments in the next video.
the
Yep, Mania is going to be stacked, and I am interested in what all y'all are thinking. So definitely put them in the comments, please.
the the Rock is still wrestling.
Yeah, he's
Damn.
this WrestleMania and next WrestleMania.
So check it out. When he came back, it was in Denver as a surprise,
Yeah,
and we were supposed to go to that damn show, and we didn't end up going. And I've been kicking myself in the ass ever since. But yeah, that's when he came back. It was in I think it was October.
or September or something. Yeah, maybe it was October.
Hey,
Yeah,
real quick, because spoke about a show in Denver. I went to one and I saw Sting come down from the Raptors, and then we had this giant white sheet, and we put like I think it was the Wolf Pack. We put Wolf Pack as Colorado country, but in one scene you could actually see our sheet in the background. We're like, yeah, we did it.
I love that story. I love it. I wonder what show it was because I went to all the WCW shows that came here in that era. So we were probably at the
Oh,
same damn show.
yeah, I was probably, let's see, I was like in eighth or ninth grade. So yeah, long
at,
time ago.
at the Denver Coliseum.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Long time wrestling fans, people. Long time wrestling fans. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been episode 4 of the Dro Bro Show. And stay tuned. We got more to come.
Bye, guys.
Later. Peace out.